Hello, it's Lisa, and I wanted to talk a little bit about basically living in Florida. So, we moved to Florida 2 years ago. Funny enough, I had been personally planning it for probably 4 years before that. So, when we lived in Nevada, there was a point about 2 years before we moved that I was convinced we were moving right then and there. Both myself and my husband were registered nurses at the time. We were working in corrections, which was a pretty amazing aspect of nursing to work in. It was nice. I pretty much was just hounding my husband for months that, we really just need to go. We just need to move. I even started packing the house. Funny enough, I had him pretty much convinced. I got the house up to even about 75% packed. And then he said, I'm just not quite ready yet. And it was like, okay, fine. I need to just let this go for now. Unpacked the house. I know, sounds a little crazy, but unpacked the house and then just kind of waited, and didn't really say much the next couple years. But my heart always wanted to be here. We've always laughed and said I'm part gypsy. My dad teases me all the time. He says it's something in our blood. I have been one of those people that has just never been settled. I've moved from state to state to state and just never really settled feeling. So interestingly enough, I love Florida. I do not see myself ever moving from here. I'm always cold. Just always. So Florida, I'm warm all the time, even in the winter, it's not too cold. I am a little cold, but not, as cold as when we were in Nevada or Kentucky or let's see where else, California, Texas, although Texas was not cold in the winter. But anyhow, so fast forward to 2 years ago, and it pretty much, the opportune time came up. And it was like, okay, we need to move. What do we want to do? And my husband said, let's just move to Florida. I know you want to go. Let's just move to Florida. So we literally packed up the house, and it took us a couple months to find our house here. So during that time, we packed everything up. We moved it to my parents, which was in Colorado at the time, left everything there. And then we came back to Nevada and travel nursed until it was time, till we found our house, had our move-in date and everything, and went to Florida. So that whole process was actually pretty interesting. We bought our house sight unseen, and I did a lot of Google Maps and Google Earth and, looking at the area and everything, but it turned out beautiful. It's everything that I had hoped for and more. The backyard, I know I made another video about it, but the backyard, it's small, but I have enough room for planting, and, it has the pool that I wanted, the saltwater pool, and, really the house pretty much has everything I wanted. It's a tiny bit on the smaller side, but living in Florida, the electric bill is pretty high. So actually that turned out well too, just not having a big house. So, so we ended up moving and just love it. The only negative that I would say about Florida that I probably wasn't fully prepared for was the traffic. Now, we had lived in San Antonio, and the traffic there was horrendous. I worked at the main hospital in downtown there, and I want to say it was about 7 or 8 miles, and it took me about 45 minutes to an hour to get there every night and get home in the morning. So the traffic was awful, but it did not prepare me for Florida. The traffic here in the Orlando area is pretty bad. We both still travel nurse. I've been off since May, so I haven't really had to, deal with like working locally with the traffic. But I feel sorry for people that do, because there are certain times a day that you just don't want to go anywhere near, certain directions, like going towards downtown or away from downtown. But we are only about 20 minutes from all the Disney parks, and that I absolutely love. And really, we don't run into a lot of traffic that way, because we tend to go a little later in the afternoon. We stay a couple hours, and then drive home, usually missing the traffic. That is one of my big benefits of living in Florida, I will say, is the parks. We have both passes to Universal and to Disney. And the Disney, we just have like the weekday cheap passes, and they work perfectly for us. We spend a lot of time there in kind of in spurts, mostly at Epcot, depending on like what festival's going on. Like right now is the Food and Wine, and that's my favorite. We also have Universal passes, and we really don't go there as much, but it is a little bit further. It's more like, maybe 35 or 40 minutes from here. But really, Orlando is kind of the best of both worlds, because we're inland enough where the hurricanes are pretty much nothing by the time they hit here. We're just about an hour from the ocean one direction, maybe about an hour and 20 minutes the other direction. So you can still go get, the ocean fix and everything. I think it took us about 5 or 4 hours to get to the Florida Keys, which had just outstanding scuba diving. It was some of the best that we've done, and we've, been scuba diving all over the place. And, you can go north and go to those states. I mean, there's just so much around Florida and around where we live. And there's so much that we haven't even done yet that I look forward to doing. I still want to swim with the manatees, and I want to go scuba diving at Epcot again. We did that several years ago, and it was really, really fun. It's called Dive Quest at Epcot, if anyone's ever, interested in that. It's pretty cool. It's like the best conditions of scuba diving that you'll ever have. The visibility it's like 120 feet. You can see everything. And there's no current, there's just nothing to really affect anything that you normally would get scuba diving. You pretty much just go down and you get to wave at everyone through the windows and just swim around. So it's really cool, especially now that Riley and Grace are certified. I would like to take them to do that one day. It's pretty fun. So as far as, let's see, so back to Orlando. Really, there's just everything that I could ever want here. The last city we lived in Nevada was pretty small, and I really missed all the big city stuff that I get here, where it's just kind of the best of both worlds. And the thing that I found with Florida that I really love is you could be in a city and just driving down a road, and it's all of a sudden there's just all this just greenery, with nothing, no buildings or anything there. And then it's like back to city, it's real, there's a lot of nature here, and I really didn't expect that when I moved here. For some reason I had envisioned kind of more like San Antonio, where it's just kind of all city, and it's really not. It's real different. So anyhow, just a few thoughts on Orlando and just how happy I am to be here. I always call it my living on vacation. Where people ask, where do you live? I live in Orlando and I live on vacation. And I really feel like that's true. Part of that may be because I have to fly elsewhere to go work, but I really think a lot of it just has to do with it is a vacation spot, and you literally can find anything you ever want here and more. So it's pretty cool. Anyone thinking about moving here, I highly recommend it. But anyhow, that's just kind of my little tidbits on Orlando and how much I love living here and how thankful and blessed I feel to be here. Just love it. A lot of pool days, a lot of just laying in the sun, gardening, all the things that I love to do, I can do here with ease.